The night of November 17, 1978, started like any other for the Miller family in their quiet suburban home. John Miller, a meticulous and private man, had retired to his study after dinner, as was his routine. His study was a small, unassuming room at the back of the house, distinguished by its single, heavy oak door, which John habitually locked from the inside with a robust deadbolt. There were no windows, only solid walls connecting it to the rest of the house. His wife, Mary, heard the familiar click of the lock at precisely 9:45 p.m. She saw him slide the key into the lock from the inside and retrieve it. A normal evening. The next morning, Mary went to wake John for work. She knocked on the study door. No answer. She called his name. Silence. A growing unease settled over her. She tried the doorknob. Still locked from the inside. Concerned, she called their son David, who lived nearby. David arrived quickly, and together they peered through the small gap under the door, then tried pushing, then rattling. The deadbolt was definitely engaged from the interior. With mounting panic, David broke down the door. The sight that met their eyes was chillingly mundane, yet utterly impossible. The study was empty. John's spectacles lay on his desk next to an open book. His car keys, wallet, and watch were neatly placed beside them. The room showed no signs of struggle, no forced entry, no hidden passages. The solid walls were intact. The floor was undisturbed. John Miller had simply vanished. From a perfectly sealed, locked room, the local police arrived, initially skeptical. But as they meticulously examined the scene, checking every inch of the room, the roof, the foundations, interviewing every family member and neighbor, their skepticism gave way to bewilderment. There was no logical explanation. It was as if John Miller had simply ceased to exist, evaporating into thin air from an impossible confinement. The mystery of the locked room vanishing became a local sensation, then a national enigma, baffling seasoned detectives and armchair sleuths alike. The immediate aftermath of John Miller's disappearance was a whirlwind of frantic searches and wild theories. Every police dog, every volunteer, every square foot of the surrounding area was combed. Local lakes were dragged, abandoned buildings were searched, and missing person flyers blanketed the town. But John Miller was nowhere to be found. The peculiar circumstances of his vanishing from a locked room fueled endless speculation. Detectives entertained every possibility, no matter how outlandish. Was it a highly sophisticated kidnapping? But why no ransom note? How did the kidnappers get him out of a sealed room? Was it suicide? And he somehow managed to lock the door behind him, and then what? No body was ever found. Was it a secret escape route known only to him? Forensic teams painstakingly searched for hidden tunnels, secret panels, anything that could explain it, but found nothing.
Ow.
The room was just a room. The media, captivated by the impossible disappearance, dubbed it the Phantom of the Study case. Psychics offered visions, conspiracy theorists proposed aliens, and magicians weighed in on the impossibility of the feat. The family, particularly Mary and David, lived in a constant state of agonizing uncertainty. Hope dwindled with each passing month, replaced by a suffocating despair. The case went cold, becoming an urban legend, a haunting riddle passed down through generations. John Miller was officially presumed dead, but the how of his disappearance remained a tormenting void. The locked room became a symbol of the unanswered questions, a silent testament to a man who simply ceased to be. Decades passed. The Miller family learned to live with the unanswered question, though it never truly left them. The study remained largely untouched, a somber monument to the day John vanished. The world had moved on. But the chilling impossibility of his disappearance continued to fascinate those who remembered the story. Then, nearly 30 years after his vanishing act, a call came to the police department from a small town hundreds of miles away. An elderly man had been found unconscious after a fall, with no identification, only an old, faded photograph of a young woman who looked remarkably like a much younger Mary Miller. When he awoke in the hospital, his memory was fragmented, but one name he mumbled was John Miller. Police were skeptical, but the details began to align. Fingerprints matched an old set from John Miller's military records. DNA confirmed it. The impossible had happened. John Miller was alive, but the mystery of his disappearance only deepened. Where had he been, and how did he vanish from that locked room? The truth, as it unfolded, was far stranger and more heartbreaking than any of the theories. John Miller hadn't vanished through magic or foul play. He had meticulously planned his escape from his own life. Decades earlier, facing immense personal debts he had hidden from his family, and overwhelmed by a secret health diagnosis he believed was terminal, John had devised a desperate plan. He had constructed a cunning, temporary passage within the wall behind a large, heavy bookcase, a passage so expertly concealed that it defied casual detection and collapsed harmlessly behind him once he passed through, leaving no obvious trace. Had then walked away from his life, assuming a new identity and cutting all ties. His final act in the study was to lock the door from the inside before stepping through his hidden escape. He'd survived, built a new quiet life, and his memory only started returning years later after his accident. The reunion with his now elderly wife and adult son was a mix of overwhelming relief, profound confusion, and bitter pain. The impossible disappearance was not a mystery of the supernatural, but a testament to the desperate lengths a man would go to escape his own perceived failures. The man who vanished from a locked room returned, but the secrets he kept left a different kind of indelible mark. If this story left you speechless, Make sure to hit that like button and leave a comment below sharing your thoughts. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Story Shock so you don't miss our next deep dive into astonishing true events. Don't forget to ring that notification bell too, so you're always the first to uncover the shocking truth.